In this video, you will learn how to find missing angles in special triangles. What are special triangles, you may be wondering? There are many types of special triangles. The two examples we'll look at in this video are right triangles and isosceles triangles. A right triangle is a triangle that contains a right angle. An isosceles triangle has two equal angles. Right triangles have exactly one 90-degree angle. Remember, the angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. That gives us the equation 90 plus x plus y equals 180. That means the other two angles in the triangle must be acute or less than 90 degrees. If either of those other angles were 90 or greater, the sum of the angles in the triangle would be greater than 180. We will use this information to solve an example problem. In this example, we have a right triangle and one angle that measures 70 degrees. We are asked to find the measure of the other acute angle. A right triangle has a 90-degree angle, so we know that two of the angles are 90 degrees and 70 degrees. To find the other acute angle measure, we will use what we know about right triangles to write and solve an equation. Since the sum of the angles in a triangle must be 180 degrees, we can add the three angles and set them equal to 180 degrees. We'll label the unknown angle measure n. We'll write the equation 70 plus 90 plus n is equal to 180. Now we'll add the two known angles to simplify the equation. 70 plus 90 is equal to 160. Next, since we want to solve for the unknown angle measure, subtract 160 from both sides of the equation. 180 minus 160 is equal to 20, so the measure of the missing angle is 20 degrees. Let's now take a closer look at isosceles triangles. Isosceles triangles have two equal angles. We call angles that are equal congruent angles. Remember, the three angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. Since two of the angles in an isosceles triangle are congruent, we can label them with the same variable. We can write the equation y plus x equals 180. In this equation, x and x are like terms, so we'll combine them. X plus x is 2x, so we know that y plus 2x equals 180 in an isosceles triangle. Let's use this information to solve two example problems. In this example, we have an isosceles triangle and one angle that measures 120 degrees. We are asked which other angles could be in that triangle. Since all three angles in a triangle add up to 180, the sum of any two angles cannot be more than 180. Let's take a closer look at our answer choices. Since we have a 120-degree angle, we can eliminate a few answer choices immediately. 120 plus 90 is 210. That's too much for a triangle, so we cannot have a 90-degree angle in our triangle. 120 plus 80 is 200, which is also too much, so we cannot have an 80-degree angle either. Our triangle is isosceles, so it has two equal angles. Can the two equal angles both be 120 degrees? 120 plus 120 is equal to 240, which is way too much for a triangle. So the two equal angles in our triangle cannot be 120. As a rule, no triangle can have two or more obtuse angles because the sum of those two angles would be greater than 180 degrees. Now we're ready to add the three angles and set them equal to 180 degrees. We'll label the two unknown angle measures n since they are equal to each other, and we'll write the equation 120 plus 2n is equal to 180. Now, since we want to solve for the unknown angle measure, subtract 120 from both sides of the equation. 180 minus 120 is equal to 60. Then divide both sides of the equation by 2. 60 divided by 2 is equal to 30, so the measure of the two missing angles are 30 degrees and 30 degrees. Looking back at our answer choices, the only possible angle measure that could be in this isosceles triangle is 30 degrees. In this final example, we have an isosceles triangle and one angle that measures 70 degrees. Again, we are asked which other angles could be in that triangle. An isosceles triangle has two equal angles. Since the known angle is acute or less than 90 degrees, there are two different triangles that could fit this description. We will create one triangle that has two congruent 70-degree angles and one triangle that has two congruent angles that aren't equal to the 70-degree angle. To find the missing angle measures, we'll write and solve an equation for each triangle. In the first triangle, two of the angles are 70 degrees. To find the other missing angle, set the sum of the angle measures equal to 180 degrees and solve. 70 plus 70 is equal to 140. Now subtract 140 from both sides of the equation. 180 minus 140 is 40, so the missing angle in the first triangle is 40 degrees. In the second triangle, the two congruent angles are unknown, so we'll write the equation 70 plus 2n is equal to 180. Now subtract 70 from both sides of the equation. 180 minus 70 is equal to 110. Then divide both sides of the equation by 2. 110 divided by 2 is equal to 55. The missing angles in the second triangle are 55 degrees and 55 degrees. So depending on which isosceles triangle you pick, the missing angles could be either 70 degrees and 40 degrees or 55 degrees and 55 degrees. That means the answer to the question is 40 degrees, 70 degrees, and 55 degrees. An angle of 110 degrees cannot be in this triangle. Remember, a right triangle has one 90-degree angle, and an isosceles triangle has two congruent angles. The sum of the three angles in any triangle is always equal to 180 degrees. You can use these facts to set up equations and solve for the missing angles.